Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
And let me explain what that was. We have set up a whole studio here outside. This is usually our green room, but it's a nice big room. Do you need me away from the mic a little bit? Angela, Philip, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you, David.
And thank you for being here.
And our
Yes,
guests,
and we
our guests in the studio.
Yeah, we have a live audience today.
And we're going to ask them to come up and ask questions also. I want to start with, Angela, of the mayors that you worked with, who she knows what our question is. Who was the worst?
Who was the worst?
It's not a question. It's easy.
Yeah, Tom Leppard. Yeah. He didn't finish out his time. It was interesting. He started off with a brand new council. Most of the council was brand new and started when he started. And that gave him a tremendous advantage because he got to kind of mold the council, and it just was a great political advantage for him. And he worked that all the way up until he decided he was going to run for the U.S. Senate, at which point he decided to become extremely partisan. You remember him walking in the parade, and
I remembered. He doesn't remember that, though.
Yeah, he conveniently forgot that. But
I have a picture of it.
Yes, we've got a few.
And so did all of his opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was unfortunate because you just kind of saw this switch go on, and the way he handled the Love Field concessionaire issue was the perfect example, and that was the turning point. He turned his back on who had been his allies on the council, and I was watching all this because I was not among those allies, but I just kind of sat back and watched what was going on, and he just really threw them under the bus in order to gain political favor with folks for a higher political office.
Philip, I wanted to ask you just to start. Now, we know why the mayor appointed Scott Griggs to the Police and Fire Pension Board. What did you do to piss him off?
I'm actually really excited about that. It's an issue that's in District 14 that Angela and I represented, and
in the news every day.
And it's in the news every day. And I have to tell you, the minute I got the office, I really started working on that issue, thinking that I would, from the outside, craft some sort of solution because of my great virtues as a mediator, whatever it was I was going to do, the magic wand that I have in the closet, something like that. But now they've actually given me a platform to really try to help that neighborhood, and I couldn't be happier about it. The reason Mike Rawlings put me there is because I think his interests and mine really align on that, and I'm excited about that.
And what did he have against Lee Kleinman?
Lee's a guy who will ask questions, and he is highly independent. You have to convince him of things to get him on your side. He's not political in the negative sense of that word, and he's really
like
a guy.
Angela.
Yeah, like Angela, like all these hacks. But no, he's a great guy, and it's a very honest reason to put him on that board, and he'll be great on that board.
And I noticed in the first vote that you took on the board, it was 3 councilmen voted one way and everybody else voted the other way. Just saying.
I actually think we had 4 councilmen vote one way and everybody else vote against us. But we worked that out. We're in better place now.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for Angela. What is a big moment that you remember in your 8 years? Like, what's the big highlights that were?
Man.
I know the Trinity River vote, the toll road was a big deal.
The Trinity River thing was, I didn't get elected really as a change agent. I was supported by Valletta Lil and a lot of establishment folks. And once you kind of get elected and get your legs under you, you're really able to start seeing what's going on at the council and getting to do what you feel like you were elected to do. And with the Trinity River toll road, I felt that was something that was important for the city. And I really remember how incredibly stressful it was and the tremendous amount of work and how exciting it was after 60 days collecting signatures.
I wanted to be clear. When you're saying for the toll road, you weren't.
I was not for the toll road, yeah. For all those people who were confused and who have spent the last several years thinking that I've been plugging for the toll road, no, it's not the case. I'm sorry for the confusion. But no, I remember carrying all those boxes in of signatures. That, to me, was a highlight because that was, when people come to me talking about, we want to do a referendum to recall somebody or something, I've had people email me about that. No one really understands how challenging it is to get 50,000 good signatures from registered voters. That is a tremendous undertaking. It's not like you can stand outside of Walmart and collect enough signatures with a few volunteers, even volunteers who care and want to do it. And so being able to make that happen and work with all those folks on that project was a real highlight for me.
And I still don't know where that toll road is going to go. They're putting in a trolley on the Jefferson Street Viaduct or Houston Street. One of them. They're putting that new trolley in. There is no place underneath that for it to go. To go over it means they'd have to continue and go over the new Angela Hunt Hill Bridge, and that's not going to happen.
There are serious issues in relation to the 2 historic bridges, Jefferson and Houston, and the last I heard, they hadn't worked through all that. So I don't know how that's going to happen. But the main thing is I don't know where they're going to get the money.
Well, you're going to sit back and pop the popcorn and kick back and watch this.
I tell you what I'm really excited about is the trails we're going to get down there. And the Philip can talk more about this, but we're going to get the trails that Scott and I put in funds for, and that's going to get people down enjoying the Trinity. That's going to be amazing.
Those trails are this is the thing that's really exciting. Obviously there was some resistance in city staff to putting those trails in, despite the fact that Mike Rawlings, Scott Griggs, Angela Hunt all held hands, had a press conference, and said, we've got the money for this, and we've got a great design. Let's do it. And staff said, okay, let's do it. And then about a year later, they said, no, we're not really going to do that because we're worried that people who bike down on these trails are going to get run over by our maintenance trucks. And because our maintenance truck drivers are maniacs, clearly, and have no regard for public safety. That's why we hired them, surely. And we we have Sharrows painted on Lamar Street.
In the middle of the street.
In the middle of the street.
Encouraging cyclists
going
to ride
over
with
these
Humvees
Oh
and
my
trucks
Lord. But yeah, apparently that's perfectly safe, but no, the Trinity trails are going to be dangerous. So we've apparently worked all that out. The thing that I'm really excited about for that is that the way it's situated within the levees, on its northern end, it has a great possibility to connect to the Trinity Strand Trail, which is going to connect to the Katy Trail, which actually creates the thing that we've been pushing for this entire time, which is a trail network.
Which is going to connect into the White Rock Trail even.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
So,
it
you'll
will.
just have
And
this
then on the
incredible-
southern end, it can connect to the Coombs Creek Trail that'll go, along 30, serves District 1, and will lead out to West Dallas. So once we have, I think that the networking of those trails is what causes people to want to use them, not just for recreation, but also for actual transportation.
And then my suggestion was to get these done, we need to put tolls on them.
Why
A
not?
toll trail.
Yeah.
That's new.
You'd make a lot of money on the Katy Trail doing that.
Angela, last time you were here, we talked about how some of the other larger cities have bike rentals. And I just saw this PSA, I guess that's what you call it, that the mayor of Houston did, and they've gone from 2, I guess, bike hubs to 20 in over a year. Do you know if there's any plans for Dallas to do something like that?
Well, actually, no. There's nobody that I know of that's planning to do it right now, but everybody sort of wants it to come here. And the concept is this bike share program. It's been very successful in New York City. One of the challenges is our bike helmet ordinance. How do you rent people a bike helmet? And the Vancouver is dealing with this right now, and their new plan is to actually have rental helmets, which sounds an awful lot like bowling shoes for your head. I don't really think that's going to be super attractive.
Because of the health issue?
I'm just not thrilled with that idea.
Yeah.
So hopefully we have the possibility of doing that. We may need to, I would love to see us address the helmet issue again.
And my take on that is we need to just get rid of the helmet law for adults. If you're 18 and over, you don't need to be required to wear a helmet. It really, if you look at all the studies anywhere in America or around the world, helmet laws really reduce the number of people who bicycle. And if we're really trying to get people on bikes, one of the single easiest ways to do it is to repeal our helmet law for adults, and it would get people out there. And if you look at the number of accidents that are had, it's really not significant. But as far as bike share programs go, if on my list of priorities, that would be lower than, say, what Philip was talking about, connecting trails. I think that will have a bigger impact on Dallas, because until you have that network, I don't know that you have the need for a bike share program before you have the transportation system.
What worries
in
me about
place.
not using helmets is down in the Trinity River bottoms, where you have crazy city workers driving trucks all over the place.
Yeah, we could probably carve out an exception for down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would dramatically reduce the instances of helmet hair, though.
That's my secret
That's a
reason.
scourge.
Right.
That's my secret reason.
We need to take a break. I'm just looking at the time. That was a quick 20 minutes because there were so many commercials at the beginning. I hope Annie in the control room can hear us, but we'll be back with more Lambda Weekly right after this.
Knon thanks you for your pledge to our recent pledge drive. Now is the time to make your pledge count. Knon has a new address to send your pledge to. Knon no longer uses a P.O. box. So send your pledge to Knon, 5353 Maple Avenue, Suite 200, Dallas, Texas, 75235. And if you missed our pledge drive, you can still support community radio by pledging on the web at knon.org. Your pledge only counts if you pay it. Remember, don't use the P.O. box. Send that pledge to Knon, 5353 Maple Avenue, Suite 200 in Dallas, 75235. Be sure to put the name of the show you are supporting on the check, money order, or envelope. Questions about Knon Pledge Drive? Call 214-828-9500, extension 234.
When they're gone for good. This is Scott from KNON's Texas Blues Radio telling you don't miss out on some great blues. KNON's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. It's a CD put together by real blues fans for real blues fans like you. Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 features great local blues from Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, JJ and the Detonators, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jess Stone with Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, and Johnny Red and the Roosters. Get a copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. This is a Dallas Blues collector's item. A very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are available at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds will benefit KNON. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org.
In Dallas, local partners and national nonprofit Connect to Compete have made available for residents digital skills training classes. Classes include basic internet searching, internet basics, computer basics, and more. Local residents are also eligible for programs that provide assistance for internet service and computers. For more information on internet classes at local libraries, their phone number is 1-855-387-9166 or on the web at everyoneon.org. This program is in partnership with Dallas Area Libraries, Connect to Compete, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Actor from UT Dallas, and you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm David Taffet here in the studio with, or here in not the studio, with Lerone Landis and the late Patti Fink. Our guests today are Councilman Philip Kingston and ex-Councilwoman Angela Hunt.
And we have a live studio audience.
And our live studio audience.
Well, a lot of different questions, but I wanted to talk about the reaction to state of Texas immediately after Supreme Court's ruling with the Voting Rights Act, and we immediately passed a voter ID qualification here in Texas.
Not immediately, it took 2 hours.
2 hours. And now the city of Dallas has decided to sue Rick Perry. Thoughts about that?
County of Dallas.
County of Dallas.
Yeah, completely different.
City, yeah. But we're not spending money on that in the city. We barely have money for keeping the lights on. Well, I mean, the voter ID law is completely ridiculous. It's designed to suppress votes. It's designed to address a made-up issue, which is vote fraud. Vote fraud may exist in some places. I mean, I'm from South Texas. If it exists anywhere, it's there. But seriously,
But there's never been any evidence that it's like on a grand scale.
It's not a huge scale, and it can always be dealt with after the election. You just go verify. I have no patience for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with everything Philip said too. And I'd add I think what a lot of people don't realize is that if you don't drive, or if you're in a rural community and you don't have easy access, or if you're a senior, you don't have easy access to a place where you can get an ID. And so it's not quite as simple as a lot of the folks who support voter ID laws make it out to be, to actually obtain an ID. And
it's kind of like if you can't afford college, just ask your parents to pay for it for you.
Exactly.
Well, there's another issue too. At the same time as we were, making up this voter fraud bugaboo, the state 10 or so years ago started putting what they call surcharges on all manner of moving violations. So people who are poor people who get a traffic ticket for whatever, they wind up trying to pay that ticket at their local municipality, whoever issued them the ticket, and then they find out, and it's really hard to find out, that they have this surcharge that they owe the state, so they can't renew their driver's license until they get this thing sorted out. It's it was unintentional. It's not a conspiracy, but it's another suppressive effect, and it's the state refusing to give people the IDs they need in order to vote. It's really ridiculous.
I didn't know that. Wow.
It's pretty pervasive, and I think it's going to be on the flip side of that too, because when I'm an election judge in my precinct and I see a lot of elderly women especially who have been on the rolls as a voter as Mrs. J.A. Smith forever are not going to be able to vote if this law goes forward without the proper ID and changing their voter registration long before, because they can't change it the day they vote. let's change it beforehand to make it match. And so there's going to be a lot of those votes that just don't happen because they don't know and they don't have the ID and they haven't changed their registration. You could be Mrs. Somebody officially, a long time ago. You can't really do that today.
I want to change gears a little bit. One of the things that we do very often, we just talk about a little bit of local news. News item I was excited about this week. All of a sudden, a county clerk in Doña Ana County, just north of El Paso, decided I'm issuing marriage licenses.
And just north of El Paso means New Mexico.
Yes, in New Mexico, not Texas.
You're no longer in Texas.
Now, Texas, or the New Mexico Constitution, all their laws, all marriage laws are gender neutral, completely gender neutral. The divorce laws are not. So people who get married there will not be able to get divorced, but they can get married. Now, what happened? That happened Wednesday. About 40 people went to get married. Thursday, Jeff Tingley from here, he got married. Congratulations, Jeff. But on Friday, a judge in Santa Fe County said to their county clerk, you have to do this too. So now there are 2 counties in New Mexico.
They're on a roll.
Well, the judge said that you have to do this or show up to my court and tell me why they can't get married. And that hasn't happened yet.
And that has not, well, because people don't have an objection to it.
No, they don't.
There are about 24 legislators who are talking about filing an appeal or get an injunction about this. So,
I think it's going to stick.
We had a famous Dallas coming out this week.
We did. Wentworth Miller, actor Wentworth Miller. Now, he played in the show that shot here in Dallas called Prison Break, and David was on that show also.
Well, I was excited this week. I wrote on David's wall on Facebook, I said, I saw the headline, Prison Break actor comes out. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. You finally, I knew you'd tell the world someday.
Okay,
David
here's
did
the
some
funny
extra
story.
work.
I did one scene with Wentworth. One. It was the first episode filmed here in Dallas, which was the first episode of second season. The show took place, the beginning of the show, in Chicago. So we're filming in August in Dallas, and it's supposed to be Chicago in the winter. It was real pleasant filming. And I was doing body double for the person playing Wentworth's brother, who was like 6'5" and really built big. So I was the perfect body double, right? Now, what I did was I had to open a garage door. That was the big scene. Now, they had to reload the film because it was still filmed. It wasn't digital. And while they were reloading, there were 2 of us there. The whole crew said, oh, get Wentworth out of the heat. Now, getting out of the heat meant we were standing here. We had to take 1 step across the door, and it was perfectly air-conditioned. So I'm standing outside like this, and I said, can I come too? And Wentworth just looked at me and said, really, he was very nice.
Very nice. And I really liked the way he came out. What it was, he had an invitation to come over to Russia, and he wrote a letter to GLAAD and declined and said, as a gay man, he was very nonchalant about it. As a gay man, I cannot appear in Russia because of their anti-gay laws. I just thought it was really nice, easy way to put it out there.
It was a class act.
It was very class
really
act.
well done.
Now, speaking of TV, we play a game here sometimes called Who Wants to Be a Lesbian? Laura Miller had her lesbian plaque on her wall the whole time she was mayor. So,
and she played this game when we were back at the Crack House.
She did.
And on San Jacinto.
She did very well.
Over in District 14.
It was. It was. It's no longer there now, but I remember her getting out of and then climbing those steps. It was a memorable moment, but we like to do this with guests. And I just like to point out, too, that when Harriet Earhart, former state representative Harriet Earhart, played this game, she leaned into the mic at the last moment and said, I love you, Jack.
The problem being she knew all the answers, and she knew them real well. So let's play.
All right.
All right.
So just like what do we got?
No music. I don't know why the music. Okay, so.
All right. We'll just get to the questions.
Okay, let's get to the questions. First question: are you ready? Now, remember, you can phone a friend or a husband. You can Lifeline, and yeah. Okay, number 1: name a lesbian Texas mayor. A. Mike Rawlings. B. Betsy Price. C. Anise Parker, or D. Von Seal Jones Hill?
That's a tough one. I'm going to have to go with my fellow Rice alum, Anise Parker of Houston.
And she's right.
And she's right.
Number 2, after two lesbians meet, they A, rent a U-Haul, B, rent a Ryder truck, C, rent a car from Enterprise, or D, trick question, they already have a pickup.
I'm going to have to go with D.
And you know, we were talking about this, either A or D would work. Okay, number 3. When Patty and Aaron tried to register their pattern at Neiman's, the gay sales clerk was horrified because they chose A, Wedgwood, B, Noritake, C, Waterford, D, Flannel.
I would go with, I think I'm going to have to go with D. I'm going to have to go with D.
And D,
This is my
I was going to go with Noritake, but now I'm going with D.
Number 4, in the TV show Ellen, which actress came out? A, Ellen Burstyn, D, Ellen DeGeneres, C, Ellen Barkin, or D, Ellen Alda?
I'm going to go with Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen
That'd
DeGeneres
be right.
would be right.
Man, these are tough. These are tough.
Number 5, the term lesbian comes from A, the Bible. Lesbia was a suburb of Gomorrah. B, the Aramaic word for I have a headache. C, the Isle of Lesbos, home of the lesbian poet Sappho. Or D, Lesbian, Massachusetts, the home of the country's first all-girls school.
Oh, I love all of those. I'm going to go with C.
C would be right, the
That's
Isle
correct.
of Lesbos. Okay, which lesbian is not a tennis player? A, Martina Navratilova, B, Billie Jean King, C, Amelie Mauresmo, or D, Philip Kingston?
You may want to use a lifeline.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I might use a lifeline, but I'm just going to guess on this. I'm going to go with D.
And D would be right.
That would be right.
She didn't even ask me.
Not a lesbian. And which TV mom came out? A, Donna Reed, B, Barbara Billingsley, C, Meredith Baxter, or D, Felicia Rashad?
I'm going to have to go with Meredith Baxter. Remember when she was Meredith Baxter Bernie?
That's right.
Yeah,
She isn't anymore.
she isn't anymore.
And I think we have a new lesbian.
We
We
do.
do.
And we'll get you your honorary certificate.
That's music that you were intended to play. Now the music's playing. Okay. All
Very
right.
good.
That's fun. We've had lots of those over the years, and they're not tailored questions or anything.
Fantastic. I didn't study up too hard, but I was up a little late.
But you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Representing District 14. When you first came into office, you were not real active before in the gay and lesbian community, but you did a great job of representing the community. What did you do to become friendly with and get yourself up on the issues and really become a good representative for the gay and lesbian community?
You know, when I was at Rice University, actually, I was on the student council there representing my college.
And I don't mean to say you didn't know any of
Right,
us.
right. No, I know what you're saying, but I had led the effort at Rice. Remember about Don't Ask, Don't Tell? That just never seemed right to me, because if a student came out and he or she had gotten a scholarship to the NROTC program at Rice University, he could potentially lose that scholarship and be out. And that just never ever seemed right to me, aside from the fact that just Don't Ask, Don't Tell in itself has problems. And so I led the effort there to stand up against that policy. And it was strangely controversial, but we were successful in getting a resolution against that policy, and I think it was a very positive thing and a positive statement. And so I got to interact with a lot of members of the LGBT community at Rice, just in dealing with that issue. And I hadn't really been very active or familiar with LGBT issues before then. So then kind of fast forward to the council and just reaching out to folks in Oak Lawn, and just other great folks like Patty and Aaron and Pam Gerber and other folks who just really kind of helped get me up to speed and understand what the issues were at the city level, because I think we understand the federal issues and state issues, but to understand what do we need to do on things I can affect, that I can help get done. That to me was great, and Phyllis as well. They're just folks who really understand, who have lived the issues, and who were able to give me a great primer.
Okay, so on the city level, what happened with that resolution?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. It was just a clear-cut, I think, political vendetta that Delia had against Scott Griggs, and she was going to torpedo that for very political reasons. And unfortunately, I think the LGBT community got caught in the crossfire of that, and it was very petty, and I think it was very wrong.
That was a horrible election. I really hated that election. I just saw in our neighborhood, it tore apart the neighborhood. Although Scott's neighborhood was clearly for him, Delia's neighborhood.
Let me tell you what people forget about that, is that Delia helped create, went into a back room with the mayor and with Tanel Atkins and helped design that map. Now, she, a few minutes later, voted against the map because she suddenly realized, oh my God, I'm going to be running against Scott Griggs, bad idea. But she went into a back room. Scott tried to get into that meeting. The mayor said no, and she developed a map that ultimately led to her being kicked off the council. So she was part and parcel of her own failure.
Which is unfortunate, too, because I think she'd done a lot of great things with the LGBT community up to that point. But it was really, it's just so unfortunate and disheartening to have gone through that, because we would have been there for her.
It is disheartening.
And, she was there with us on so many great things that had happened over those 4 years. But it makes you question motivations, and that's troubling to me. I mean, people either this is from your heart and you believe in an issue and you're going to stand by it, or you're not and you're doing things for political reasons and your own political future. It's just we had to pay the price as a community.
Exactly, and that was the most unfortunate thing.
Okay,
the resolution's not dead.
Oh, of course not.
We're going to get that resolution through. Scott, I believe, is presenting may have already done that this week, presented a draft to the task force for comment, and we'll be working very hard to get that to the agenda.
And I know the task force discussed it this week.
And for those who don't know, let's tell them what the resolution is. It's about having the city of Dallas, where the mayor signed a resolution for marriage equality.
Well, the council.
The council.
And employment non-discrimination.
And see, this is where it was disappointing that it didn't pass. The marriage part of it, that's just ongoing, but the part was the ENDA part where there was a bill in the legislature. Well, the legislature's not meeting for another year and a half now, so it's nice to see that the council would be for that, but voting on it in January to get the legislature to know that one of your cities is in favor of this
probably would have been more effective.
It would have been more effective. Would have helped get it out of committee. Why don't we take our break, because we are just coming up on 20 of. We're talking to Angela Hunt and Philip Kingston. Philip is the current District 14 council person. Angela is the past District 14 council person. I'm Dave Taffet here with Lerone Landis, the late Patti Fink, who is so early today. We actually have a picture of Patti with the time she arrived.
I blew minds today.
Yeah,
she really did.
Shocking. We'll be back with more Lambda Weekly, though, right after this.
The Sons of Herman Lost Disc Airmen Disc Golf Association and the Gas Pipe present the first annual KNON Disc Golf Tournament and After Party on Saturday, September the 7th. The tournament will be held at B.B. Owens Park, located at 10700 Kingsley Road in Dallas, beginning at 4 p.m. There will be goodie bags, games, an ace hole contest, poker run, and more. Then, beginning at 7 p.m., the party starts at the Sons of Herman Hall, located at 3414 Elm Street in Deep Ellum, with free food and live music by Texas Slim, Jay Johnson, and All Lit Up. To register, contact me, Hippie Bob Bobby Wilbanks at 972-658-8577 or go to knon.org. Participants of the disc golf tournament are admitted free into the after party. But if you just want to go down to the show, you can get tickets at knon.org. That's the first annual KNON Disc Golf Tournament and After Party on September the 7th at B.B. Owens Park, and the after party with Texas Slim, Jay Johnson, all lit up, and free dinner at the Sons of Herman Hall, presented by the Sons of Herman Hall, Lost Disc Airmen Disc Golf Association, and the Gas Pipe, the Gas Pipe, the Gas Pipe. This is a KNON benefit event.
I'm Christina from New Orleans, and I listen to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM. See you there.
That's so exciting.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with the late Patti Fink and Lerone Landis. Our guests today are Angela Hunt and Philip Kingston. Patti, you wanted to start off with a little bit of, this is our show's 30th anniversary.
Yeah, 30 years. I mean, 30 years is pretty amazing. What were you doing in 1983?
I wasn't born yet. But
you weren't born yet. I was just a wee tyke, and then became a dyke, I guess. But in 1983, KNON reached out to what was then the Dallas Gay Alliance and Bill Nelson, the legendary Bill Nelson, and said, get a gay and lesbian radio show together. And it had never been done anywhere. And so Bill Nelson pulled together some folks in August of 1983, which is where we are today, in 2013, 30 years later. And in all those years that have gone by, we've been that voice of the people.
We've been consistently on the air.
Right, we're the oldest, longest
yes.
running, because we've never been off the air.
Imagine that right here.
Lots of shows come and go around the country and around the state, but we've been continuously on the air for 30 years now, and I think that's really, really cool. And we've had some great folks along the way. For example, the late Buck Massey was one of the founding co-hosts, and Alonzo Giralde is now out in West Hollywood doing entertainment reviews for lots of media. We're hoping Ann Brown might come today, and lots of folks over the years. And David, Lord knows, you've been on this show for how long?
Do you know, I was going through my Facebook and going through who had been, just to invite people, and he's been on.
I did that too.
Yeah,
I did that too. But you've been on since like 1990.
Yeah.
Which is
every Sunday, except when we moved to Saturday or Wednesday. Right.
And
consistent.
So we've had a lot of great times, and for a very long time, it's not true today, a very long time, we were really the only outlet. And so we got stories from people, our listeners in North Texas and Southern Oklahoma and East Texas and West Texas that said, it's the only thing. I put my headphones on and shut the door on Sunday afternoons or Sunday evenings and listen to
We had
gay
people
lesbian
tell us
radio.
when we were the only ones that you could listen to, they would say to us, you saved my life when I was a teenager, because it was the only connection I had to the gay and lesbian community. It made me realize I wasn't alone.
And I remember a listener writing us and telling us that he had attended Baylor, which is my alma mater, and would drive to Hillsborough because it was the only place he could get the first place he could get the signal.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And sit at a rest area for 2 hours doing homework while he listened to the show, and then he would drive back to Waco because it was the only gay and lesbian anything he could get.
awesome.
We didn't have.
That's awesome.
He couldn't get The Voice. He couldn't get. There was no
And one of our
internet,
favorite guests has
nothing.
been Angela Hunt, who, when we were on at 7 in the morning, just could never make it here at that hour.
No.
Can you blame her?
I feel
I had
your
a sleep
pain.
conflict, and that's just
But I think that's just
crazy.
great history that right here in the city of Dallas, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, exactly.
And some of
Happy
our
birthday. Happy
people here in
birthday.
the studio wanted to say a few words to our guests.
First of all, thank you, Angela, for trying to make this a more progressive city. And thank you, Philip, for being our new city council person. I'm very much interested in, right now, fracking. There's going to be a meeting this week. I went, last Thursday, and Philip spoke to us. What is the best way to have the city council listen to us and take maybe scare the city council a little bit, get the attention of the city council? What is the best way a citizen can get feel power?
Great question.
I would say that the thing you want to do is get in touch with your council person right now. I mean, right now. In writing, make a call. There is this. the debate we're going to have Wednesday is not about whether we're going to have gas drilling in the city of Dallas. I'm hopeful to be able to advocate for not having that in the city of Dallas anywhere. I don't think it's compatible with high quality of life and creating the new urbanism that we all want. But we're not talking about that on Wednesday. All we're talking about is 3 applications for specific use permits to allow drilling in parkland and in the Trinity floodway. When you say it, it just develops its own consensus, and the only people who aren't getting that consensus right now are on council. I do not get it. We really need advocacy. We need people to be very vocal, because I think there are members of council who don't see the political ramifications of supporting these permits, and I promise there will be ramifications.
And go down there Wednesday if you can. Your presence, and for listeners who are concerned about fracking and concerned, like Philip said, in a floodplain in a park, come on. It's just a no-brainer, but be there, because being in the audience makes a difference.
And I've been saying this, if we're going to frack, I think we should start off by fracking in Clyde Warren Park. We should just be drilling right down.
It's still a good idea.
Just as a follow-up to that, Gene Soslow, I'm DJ here at Knon also. I wanted to ask, do we have the 4 votes needed to defeat those leases? And if so,
hell yes.
Are they rock solid?
Yes. And we're going to get more.
Good news.
I'm working every day to try to get 2-3 more if I can possibly do it.
Oh, that's great news. Thank you very much for that. But I wanted to ask, how do we get the city to allot more money to the libraries than is currently being earmarked for the libraries?
Well, one, I'm the new chair of the Arts, Culture, and Libraries Committee, and we've got libraries in the name, which is always good. I will be advocating for more money for the libraries. There was a great outcry at a joint budget town hall meeting that I did with Adam Madrano and Scott Griggs this last week for extended hours for the library. The proposed budget restores all of the materials budget, which is great. It's just terrific. And there actually is an increase in payroll expenditures that the city's going to make related to both a raise for library personnel, but also we have a pretty bad problem with our non-uniformed employee pension. We lost so much money in the late aughts that we're now having to put a lot more money into that. But if we can possibly get extended hours, even just at selected locations, that's something I'll be advocating for.
And I just wanted to say I'm leaving here at the 12 when the program's over and going directly to Oaklawn Library to volunteer and make a pitch for more people in our community to volunteer, because they don't hear from our community nearly enough. We have at the Oaklawn Library the best collection of LGBT literature. We have videos, we have DVDs, we have all sorts of things. Everybody should be utilizing them, but our community should be very vocal and on the spot in each of these libraries saying, hey, we need more LGBT involvement and we need more LGBT outreach and more materials. Thank you.
And I think that's really important too, because I think a lot of people in this city and outside this city tend to believe that we all live in Oaklawn. And we don't. We live all over this city. And pick an area, pick a neighborhood. I mean, just in my immediate neighborhood, there's probably 30 to 50 LGBT families within a couple of mile radius. I mean, and that's just typical around the city. We're everywhere.
Mike Lavello. Angela, first of all, thank you for your 8 years of superb service on City Council, and welcome, Philip. Living in East Dallas, in old East Dallas, I see the problems getting a little bit closer to me now that we're having over here in Oaklawn. Being born and raised in a city that utilized public transportation, regardless of your social setting, economic setting, we're doing an awful lot of single-family teardowns in East Dallas, here in Oaklawn, and replacing them with 4 condominiums on a lot, which now means you have 8 Hummers, 8 Beamers, nobody's riding the bus. What can we do to keep this area and other areas like this area, because Dallas tears everything down as opposed to repair or change it? What do we do to keep the mixture of folks in these areas? I think District 2 and District 14 yourself did a tremendous job, because you have low income, you have medium income, you have the rich, and you have business that you need to be able to juggle. And we do not, the traffic infrastructure in this city is getting worse on a daily basis. How do we deal with that?
Boy, I think a very one part of the issue there is something that Philip and I got to know each other on over a decade ago, which is conservation districts, and that's something you can do to protect single-family neighborhoods from getting houses getting torn down and putting up these McMansions that don't fit the style or character of the neighborhood, that they reduce the quality of life and the look of the neighborhood and the history of the neighborhood. But like you said, they also may put up multifamily there in some cases, depending on the zoning. And conservation districts are a great way to protect our neighborhoods. And East Dallas has a greater number than anywhere else in the city. But I'll give you an example of the way that damages neighborhoods too. In my mom's neighborhood, Lakewood Heights, we're seeing some wonderful 1950s homes getting torn down on her street, and they're rebuilding with homes that are more than double in size. They're 2 stories where everything else is 1 story, and they're not affordable. They're not reasonably priced. In East Dallas, you can't get anything for a really reasonable price, but these are outrageous. And so it also reduces opportunities for young families or for seniors to have an opportunity to live in a house in close, where they don't have to drive 2 or 3 hours to commute, and yet they have a house in Dallas. So I think getting rid of that's a really bad idea. So historic preservation is one tool that we can use to combat that.
I know when Philip drew the conservation district in his neighborhood, I was living in that neighborhood.
Did he draw you out on purpose?
He did.
Did you vote for it?
I did.
Thank you.
But that conservation district was so specific that our house, because it was a different style, it was older than most of the other houses in the neighborhood. It was so specific. There were specific plans just for our house.
Wow.
And Patty, you remember that house. It was old.
It was a great house.
Yeah. But you can do that. I mean, you can be just very specific what you want on block by block.
Yeah.
And
It's a great
just
tool.
keep the neighborhood the way you want it.
I also think not just being in the conservation district, but growing up in the city of Boston, the rules, the planning rules were much stricter, and the variance issuing that goes on is crazy here in Dallas. There are guidelines how much property a building can take up. You apply for variance, it needs to be a hardship. It doesn't just need to bring more taxes into the city. So I think our planning laws are crazy.
Well, a couple of things on that, Mike, and thanks for being here today. The Board of Adjustment is the primary body that grants variances for land use that's outside of the zoning that's existing on the land at the time. And one of the things that Angela was good at, and that other representatives on the city council have been good at recently, is appointing people to that board who will enforce the legal standard. And the Board of Adjustment is issuing fewer and fewer variances, which I think is healthy. But the other thing I was going to mention is, in addition to historic conservation, which is a valuable tool for preserving income mix or social mix in a neighborhood, the other thing that is happening right now in East Dallas is refurbishing and essentially updating of those old 2-story multifamily structures on Live Oak and Gaston. And, we could argue about whether apartments cause crime. I don't think they do. I think in the modern city, in a more dense area, you have these multifamily units that, if they're cleaned up and properly maintained, they actually bring a really vibrant element into a neighborhood. If you're renting to young people who need a lower cost place to live, or even people who have just decided they're no longer single family homeowner types. And I think that's more and more what we're seeing in Dallas. There's a greater demand for that stuff. And so if you got young people in your neighborhood who live in nice, well-maintained apartments, I think that's valuable for a neighborhood.
And I think too, one of the reasons that we don't have enough or people don't use public transportation is this kind of old west mentality we have of everybody has to have their horse.
Yeah.
And we're a big driving city. People drive. Right.
But it's also inconvenient. I mean, public transit hasn't been made incredibly convenient in Dallas yet, and it's. I think one, making a real bike infrastructure will change that, and two, not only having, I think, a better bus system. That's another conversation, and three, really using trolleys as that kind of midway between. A bus system and your light rail. And,
there needs to be a trolley as a circulator around downtown. That one coming in from Oak Cliff needs to continue.
Yes, we're working on that.
And bring it to Oak Line.
Philip's working hard on that.
Yeah, I think we need more rail tracks also. And I know that takes time, but for the past 7 years, I've used the train system every single day because I work in downtown Dallas. Well, now I'm in a new location. I would love to use the train, but I would have to walk a mile to get to my job from the nearest stop.
Speaking of DART, they're about to vote this week again.
They're
starting their second year of talking about domestic partner benefits. So, but word is they've made some progress.
Let's hope.
Angela,
we're almost out of time.
Well, before we are almost out of time. Where's Danny? I want to thank him for catering here. Danny is the owner of Tyrific on just off of Cedar Springs at the Crossroads. Do want to thank you, Danny. Every year he has the best Christmas Eve party.
Really?
That's where Beth Elbanah goes for our Chinese food. It is.
Well,
We feel
highly recommended then.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Well, it's Thai. It's Thai, but it's close enough. And
Yeah.
they're open on Christmas.
Yeah, right.
They all look the same to David.
It's Asian food.
Angela, I want to ask you, you announced that you're running for governor when you were on our show last time. Wendy Davis, since then, has really made a splash. Is the amount of money she's raising going around the country, is that cutting into your campaign at all?
The other announcement I wanted to make today is it was a very tough decision, but because I have so much respect for Wendy, I am stepping back from the governor's race. It was a tough call. It was a tough call.
That must have been tough to do.
Yeah.
Philip, District.
And you heard it here on Lambda Weekly.
You did hear it first. Heard it first. Philip, you're an attorney. District Attorney Craig Watkins was acquitted of contempt charges yesterday. Any charges against you right now?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. And I was also wondering, Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst got into a little bit of trouble this week by calling the Allen police.
The whole, do you know who I am?
And I was going to ask if you've used that yet. Now that you're on the council, have you said to anyone, do you know who I am? I'm very important.
I haven't done that, but I will admit that I did get sort of a VIP access to Book of Mormon tickets, which I thought,
Wow.
what?
Ooh,
If you're gonna pull rank, it should be for Book of Mormon.
Book of Mormon. Now you've heard it. He's completely been taken by the system.
That's right.
Yes.
Angela, what's your plans?
Probably grab some lunch. Going to a Teetsy Park, Friends of Teetsy Park celebration tonight.
Uh-huh.
So, it's going to be a good weekend.
But you're back practicing law.
I am. I'm at Farrow Lesbian Heath. I'm a partner there. It's a great firm, and civilian life has been really nice. I had kind of this 2-week withdrawal where I kept checking my phone constantly because it was shocking not to just be called constantly and not to have to respond to emails constantly because it's really kind of a nonstop job. And after that, it felt great. It felt wonderful. I can't tell you how much I loved these past 8 years, but this is a really nice transition, and I've really enjoyed it.
We'll come back and visit us again.
I will.
And just let us know, how is he doing?
Amazing. I am so proud of Philip, and I really am. He's just been fantastic. Fantastic.
That is too sweet.
And you come back and see us also.
I will.
And Philip, will you be doing what Angela did for you for your successor?
Getting her Book of
And
Mormon tickets.
who is that going to be?
Almost certainly. We're still vetting.
Well,
Well, that's all for us this week on Lambda Weekly. Do we have a guest next week already?
We'll have to consult.
Oh, I thought we discussed, and we have.
I thought we did too, but we'll talk.
Yeah, I think. Thank you all for being here. If you're right here in the neighborhood, please stop by. 5353 Maple is where our studio is. We'll be here for a little bit more. We're having lunch catered by Tyrific, and we'll be back next week with more Lambda Weekly.
Happy birthday.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.